Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap, your nightly news podcast on all the news that I come across throughout the day, giving you my take as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Hopefully, all you guys are doing wonderful. Hopefully, all you guys are doing well. Today is August 25th, and it is Monday. It's been an interesting day in the news world as, things tend to pick up on Mondays and, throughout the week and slow down on the weekends. But you guys all know that. That's how it goes. With this being said, though, if you're new here, please subscribe. We're on our way to 500 subscribers on YouTube, and we're really close to 300. So I would really appreciate it if you subscribed and showed some love. Outside of that, though, let's get into it. Moving into the Trump administration segment for the first segment today, as we do, Trump has threatened to prosecute Chris Christie for not liking his interview. Trump has threatened to investigate Chris Christie after reviving a 2013 political scandal of the former New Jersey governor criticizing him. Christie said that Trump was using the Department of Justice as his personal legal system and talked about the Epstein files on on a radio show interview, but it's honestly unclear what he said to aggravate Trump, holy English, as these are things people consistently say. But as always, Trump took to True Social saying, "I just watched sloppy Chris Christie be interviewed on a ratings-challenged news show this week with George Slopodus, however you say that, on ABC Fake News. By the way, what the hell happened to Jonathan Karl's hair? He looks absolutely terrible. It's amazing what bad ratings on a failed television show that forced to pay me $16 million can do to one's appearance. Can anyone believe that Sloppy Chris said anything that Sloppy Chris says? Do you remember the way he lied about the dangerous and deadly closure of the George Washington Bridge in order to stay in prison? At the same time, sacrificing people who worked for him, including a young mother who spent years trying to fight off the vicious charges against her. Chris refused to take responsibility for these criminal acts. For no sake of justice, perhaps we should start looking at that very serious situation again. No one is above the law. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump." This was, interesting. I don't get what pissed Trump off so bad, but, he has gone on really attack of his former allies. In the recent days, we've kind of seen that with, the invasion of, one of his former administrations, or not invasion, whatever. They went into one of his former, administration officials' homes and office, and, a bunch of other things that have really been an attack on his allies. But it's also crazy that he continuously says nobody is above the law when, he doesn't follow it. You'd think, the president would follow the law if, he was going to say things like that. But hey, I'm just talking about the news and I got goals. Anyways, Trump has signed an executive order targeting flag burning. Trump has signed an executive order seeking to punish people who burn the American flag, accusing those who do of displaying hostility and contempt towards the United States. Trump threatened to do this as well in 2016 and believes anyone who burns the flag should serve jail time. He also made a speech at the National Guard Association of the United States saying he would work to make this a law. Trump said that burning the flag incites riots, and those who are prosecuted and convicted would face 1 year in prison. The order says the Justice Department should bring cases against acts of American flag desecration that violate acceptable content-neutral laws while causing harm to unrelated expression, consistent with the First Amendment. Examples would be violent crimes, hate crimes, illegal discrimination against American citizens, or other violations of American civil rights, and crimes against property and the peace. Well, if we can't burn it, why don't we just turn it upside down? I'm going to be honest, I don't have an American flag at the moment. I kind of got rid of it when I got upset that Trump won the election. But I personally have thought about buying one, just to hang it upside down, because it's a statement for one, but it also says the state of our nation. We are kind of dying here. And that's what hanging the American flag upside down is for. Outside of that, it's an attack on free speech. That's for sure. Americans have the right to, do whatever they wish and say whatever they wish, granted bearing the consequences. But nobody should stop anyone from burning a flag. Like, it's a flag. It's a piece of cloth. Sure, it holds, significance when it comes to governments and when it comes to history. But at the end of the day, it is a piece of cloth. Like, it is not that big of a deal that somebody is burning, the American flag. I think my stuff fell in the shower again. Yay! Anyways, Trump says a lot of people think he's a dictator. Trump has brushed off criticism, claiming he is a dictator, and insisted some people think the country could use one. Shortly after signing this order to criminalize the flag burning, the president told reporters that Democrats were ungrateful that his administration was controlling crime. He said, "As you know, Chicago is a killing field right now, and they don't acknowledge it. They say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator." He continued, "A lot of people are saying maybe we would like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I am not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense, and I'm a smart person." Nobody wants a dictator, flat out and simple. That should be like common sense there. And anyone who says they do, because, there are a lot of people who will say they do nowadays, which is crazy, it doesn't have a brain at all. Like, gone. It is not there. Trump is not a dictator yet. And I am going to put huge emphasis on yet. Bear with me on this one. But he sure does act like one. Let's not forget that these cities have crime rates that are going down. It is a blatant attack on their sovereignty that needs to end, for one. But he doesn't have full control of, the U.S. government. He does not have full control of the U.S. political system. He does not have full control of all of the bodies of government. People still do say no to Trump. That is why I say he is not a dictator yet. And I think midterms are the best way to avoid that outcome. But I don't think Trump will be the dictator in a sense for MAGA. I think it will be J.D. Vance. And I've said that time and time again. J.D. Vance is going to be a problem. So let's all hope that Trump doesn't die before midterms at the very least. If we want Trump to stop being, or if we want Trump to stop Trump from being a dictator, vote blue in midterms. Everyone should go out and vote when the midterms come around. Because if you don't, we're going to be fucked. So go vote. Anyways, moving on to our Washington, D.C. segment. Veterans have begun a sit-in at Washington, D.C. Veterans plans to start a sit-in at Union Station in D.C. They won't leave the station until the military occupation in D.C. ends. According to organizers, hundreds of veterans are expected to participate. These veterans are actively protesting the situation and refuse to leave until the National Guard does. This is great news, of course. Sure, many soldiers aren't allowed to say no to the administration and are kind of forced to, be in D.C., but veterans can and are going to do so, which we have kind of seen without, all the protests throughout this administration, which is a wonderful thing. These are the type of voices and protests that we need to have in these public areas, especially in D.C. right now. Having veterans protest in D.C. while active troops are in D.C. is a huge thing. That is so monumental, and it says a lot about the current administration, and it says a lot about where military service lies. Think about it. We have treated these veterans horribly. They're, in every right to go out and protest, and they're out there doing it, which is beautiful. I wish them all the luck in the world. Anyways, moving on to a segment about ICE, but more about Kilmar Abrego Garcia. ICE has detained Kilmar Abrego Garcia again. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was detained by ICE during his Baltimore check-in. This was expected to happen and isn't very surprising. Abrego Garcia, it was, going to happen when he came in. That was a for sure thing. He was going to be detained. Anyways, Abrego Garcia said seeing his family filled him with hope, and those moments would give him strength to continue fighting. Which is great. Earlier, he also filed a lawsuit today challenging his deportation to Uganda. This was unfortunately going to happen. It's nice that he was able to go see his family and be able to reunite and kind of spend some time around them for a little bit. As nice as it would be to let him live his life in the United States and be free, it really is going to be a challenge for that to happen. It would be a massive win against the administration if it does. So I hope he succeeds. But it's going to be hard. That's really an understatement. In other news, this is separate from his own lawsuit. A judge has ruled that Kilmar Abrego Garcia can't be deported yet. A federal judge has blocked the deportation of Kilmar Abrego Garcia to Uganda temporarily. U.S. District Judge Paula Zinix paused a deportation plan until the Trump administration allows Abrego Garcia to contest his removal. This is great news, of course. He will get a trial, which is great for him being able to defend his case. I wish him all the luck in the world. This is going to be a big thing, and I really hope he can win because it'll be a big win, that's for sure. Anyways, moving on into our final topic for tonight, we have some crazy news, and you guys have seen it all in the title, of course, as the first case of human-eating flesh worm has been found in the United States. The first case of the flesh-eating parasite New World screwworm has been detected in the United States, according to the Department of Health and Human Services. The case involved a person who recently traveled to El Salvador and was confirmed by the Maryland Health Department on August 4th. The resident has reportedly recovered from the infection, but a spokesperson said in a statement, "This is the first case of travel-associated New World screwworm myelosis, a parasitic infestation of fly larvae, from an outbreak affected country identified in the United States." This is absolutely terrifying. That is I hope this is really just a one-off thing and this never happens again, because that is so scary to think about. I do not want to go anywhere near one of those things. I'm glad to hear that they have recovered, though. Hopefully we won't see anything like this again. And hopefully that person is doing all right. I feel really horrible. Wow, I would not want to be in their shoes. But with that being said, though, hopefully you guys all enjoyed. As I said, if you're new here, please subscribe. We're on our way to 500 subscribers on YouTube, and I would so much appreciate it if you could help me get there. If you're on Substack, please also subscribe as well. All funds go to me. They'll help me pay for the things that I'll need to pay for in college, like food, clothing, all those kinds of things. But if not, you can always subscribe for free. I truly do appreciate all forms of support on this content. It means the world to me. Thank you all so much, and I will see you all in tomorrow's episode.